Yesterday we saw machlokes between the Amoraim, Rabbi Elazar, and Rabbi Yochanan as to how the transference of kedusha shmita or shvius goes. According to Rabbi Elazar, it's only derech mekach memka because it says yovel kodeshi. In the next pasuk it says hisim kulim chayim misecha kaim yam misecha. So it's got to be derech business. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it says no, Kodesh, just like Kodesh is mischalel, it doesn't have to be business. You can go, so the Kedusha should be transferred to this. Who adin what? Who adin by Shemitah. So that was the machlokes we saw. Now we're up to Mem Aleph, continuation of machlokes. We're up to Mem Aleph, Amid Aleph. Rav Ashi, 3 lines from the top. Rav Ashi. Machlokes b'pri rishon. The machlokes concerning taking off, transferring, would be the pre-rishon. Says Rashi, the perish shvius, who damar Rabbi Elazar derech chilel, right? Loy mishum de dorish smuchin. So dafka pre-rishon does he say that derech mekach memka, but not derech chilel. In other words, here is the shemitah fruit. Here it is. It's disguised as a bottle of water. It's really shemitah fruit. And this is Paris Rishon, then the only way to transfer this would be to sell it. Paris Rishon. Once the money, however, you have Paris Sheni, the Demei Shemitah, right? Then says the Gemara, however, Aval Paris Sheni Divra Kol Bein Derech Mekach Bein Derech Chila. You know, it's mashma Bein Derech Mekach Bein Derech Chila. Then, if that's the case, the Rabbi Eliezer would say the second kedusha on the money that you would be able to go and transfer through saying the kedusha in this should be transferred to this. It doesn't have to be derech mekach memka. Good, guys, you good? You here? Now let's go back to yesterday's daf. Keitzad, yesterday's daf. Right? Yesterday's daf, guys. We said a few lines to the bottom. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 goes up. Ketzad. Lokach beperish shvius. You buy with perish shvius, basar. Now you bought the basar, right? Okay, that's the first transference. Good? Guys, according to what Rav Ashi said, the next one it should say lokach, the next one should say chilel, any which way, right? Lokach bebasar dagim, yotze basar nechlas dagim. Lokach bedagim, you got it? Now we're transferring it down and still saying the lashon of lakach, which is the lashon of business. It's still smashma. It's an Indian of business. So what does Rav Ashi do with the brisa that's smashma? Any transference like Rabbi Elazar has to be lakach derek mekach memka. Says the Gemara. I v'hodik tani lakach. It says lakach. Now you understand the kasha. I did the tani reisha. Since we said it says in the Reisha, the first transference when the payris to the basa was lakach, Tananami say for lakach. It's lav dafka. It was more for symmetry that it should be the same. It's a good word, symmetry. It should be the same lakach, right? So therefore, but adarabba, it could be this the second chance or the third chance. It could be derechila. Okay. Eser Ravina Ravashi Ravina is Ravashi the following kasha. Mishi yeshle sela shel shvius. Someone has a shell of shvius. Now, guys, a shell of shvius must have been what? Perisheni. You took the fruit and you put it in coin. So in other words, the coin already is perisheni. It's the second one. Good, got it. Now, so you took the coin, which is pre-sheni. Ubike shlikach boy chaluk, and you want to buy a shirt. What do? Ketzad yaseh. Yelech Eitzel Chenvani, go to a storekeeper, Haragal Etzlai that you're accustomed to going to, so he's your friend. For Oimeloi, and you say to the storekeeper, Tainli Bisela Paris, give me for that seller, give me Paris for Noisanla. And he gives him the Paris. Good for the seller. For Chayzev Amaloi, and then he goes back and says, listen, Hari Paris Halalu, the Sun Mulchabim Matana. These Paris are now given to you Matana. In other words, I bought Paris good, with a kedusha coin. What now happens to the coin? The money goes off the kedusha of Shemitah goes off the coin. It now goes in the Paris. I give it back to the Chenvani, and he gives me back the coin. The Chenvani now has bimatana. He has fruit of Shemitah. which he'll eat with Kedusha Shemitah. He'll make sure he eats up the whole thing. It doesn't take it off. It's just now. But why has he done all of a sudden? He's freed up the money to buy a shirt, right? So now these payers that have Kedusha Shemitah, because I bought it with a sell of Kodesh, Nesulun Matana. For who I'm Eloi, and he says to them, Halacha Selazu b'matana. I v'aloikeach behem v'hala loikeach b'mashi yirtzeh. I fed the Gemara v'hacha the pre-sheni who the seller's pre-sheni. V'katani derech mekach in derech chilaloi. Fellas, why do you have to go through this whole harama of going to a storekeeper, taking the coin, and going Erad and putting and buying it according to Rav Ashi? You don't have to go ahead. You could have gone in your house, taken Paris in your house, taking the money, said the Kedusha of this should be on Paris, on the Paris, right? I'd have freed money to buy a shirt, and I'll treat the fruit as what? As Kedusha Shemitah. Why do you have to go through this harama through a chenvani? Why? Obviously, because even Paris Sheni, you need what? Derech Mekach. Right? Even not like you Rav Ashi. This is a Mishnah. And this is a brisa. Not like you Rav Ashi. Right? You're going through the whole thing. Ela lashon charata. Right. Rav Ashi is having charata now. Elam Rav Ashi. Machloikis b'prisheni. The machloikis between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Lazar, his Talmud Rabbi Lazar, whether to take off the kedusha is derech mekach with derech chilel. That's dafka b'prisheni. Avo b'pri rishon divrei akol derech mekach in derech chilaloi. So he's coming to say a big chumrah. Until now, we thought Rabbi Yochanan said what? Derech chilal in the first round. No, Rabbi Yochanan would agree in the first round also only derech mekach memka, and then the machlokes would be in the second round. What about Rabbi Yochanan's raya, guys? What was Rabbi Yochanan's raya yesterday? Let's go back. Tanya, right? What was Rabbi Yochanan's raya? Tanya kavasei Rabbi Yochanan. Guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines in the bottom on the base. Tanya kavasei Rabbi Yochanan. Echad shvius ve'echad ma'aser sheni mischalin al behema chaya va'oif. Now, what does that mean? Ma'aser sheni. Why does everyone hold by ma'aser sheni? Do you need derech mekach memka? Absolutely not, guys. Absolutely not. Right? You don't need it. Everyone says you can go ahead and take the money and put the kedusha on money and go. Yes. And we're saying whether it's shvius or ma'aser sheni, you can go ahead and mischal on animals. Machlokes, live animals, dead animals, Zacharim, the Kavas, Adorim. That was yesterday's shmooze, right? But the bottom line is that l'chayra, Rabbi Yochanan is saying, just like Ma'aser Sheni is derech chilel, so too Shemitah is derech chilel. So how can you now, Rav Ashi, change and say, no, Rabbi Yochanan says you need derech mekach memka. What about his raya that he bought yesterday? My shvius. What does it say? My shvius, it means the Mei shvius. When it said shvius over there, guys, it did not mean the first round, the Paris. It meant the Mei shvius. It meant the money of shmitas. Meaning it's Paris sheni. And Rabbi Yochanan shita is Paris sheni is derech chilel. How do you know that shvius over there means the Mei shvius? Right? How do you know? The iloite mahachi, Maisa would have to be Maisa mamish. Right, guys, let's go, guys. Corollary: if it's speaking about the Paris of Shemitah, it must be speaking parallel the Paris of what of Meiser. Good. So what are you doing now? You're taking Paris of Meiser Sheni and being mechal on an animal. Can you do that? Say no, no, and you'll find out why in a second. You need money, guys. Just look back at the brisa. Guys, look back at the brisa. Tanya kavasi Rabbi Yochanan. Echad shvius ve'echad ma'aser sheni. Now we're saying shvius over here means what? The mei shvius. It means the coins of shvius that you machalal. How do you know that's true? Because let's go the other route. Echad shvius. Let's say it's the Paris of shvius. The echad ma'aser sheni and the Paris of ma'aser sheni mischalol and al behema chayev va'oif. That's not true. You can't be mischalol Paris of ma'aser sheni on what? On an animal. You can only mechalel it on vitzarta hakesef biyotcha. It has to have kesef with its surah on it. Says the Gemara, back in the Gemara now. The Eloite Mahachi, if you don't take the Shemitah, is speaking about The meishvius, but mamish paris, maisa must be maisa mamish. It must mean maisa sheni fruit. For haksiv it's sarta kesef biyadcha. It says regarding maisa sheni, after you paid of it, sarta, literally bind the kesef in your hand. And what we learn out is that it can't be on a slug. It can't be on an asimon. It has to be what? On something that has a tsura, a minted coin. Why do you have to say? Just maisa sheni means the may maisa. Hachanami demei shvius. Very geschmack. Just like the Maisa's got to be speaking about money, so too the Shemitah's got to be speaking about money. So the Raya, the Tanya Kavase, was speaking about what? About Kesef. So again, end of the Gemara, guys, it seems to be that the first chil of Maisa, of Perish Shemitahs, everyone's moeded has to be Derech Mechel from Emka. And now it's not a Kashi, yesterday's Gemara. What does Rabbi Yochanan do with the lumdis of Kisimkru Mimcha? Right? So where does he know all that Torah from yesterday? That's a good Kasha. Where does he know all that Torah from yesterday? Okay, good. So yeah, machlokes. In the end, machlokes. The first round is derech mechulim. Okay. We finished the Shemitah Gemara again, just for purposes of this year. You're going to buy a lulav. You're going to buy an esrig. There's nothing whatsoever to worry about, because this esrig is not a Shemitah. Even though it's a Shemitah year, esrig you go after what lakicha. You go after when you gather it. This esrogim will be gathered before the Shemitah year, guys. The Esrogim will be picked before the Shemitah year, so they're the 6th year going into the 7th. They're not a problem out of Shemitah. They're not a Shemitah problem. What about Lulavim? Lulavim, again, either if you hold the Eitzim Ba'alma, right? But even if you don't hold the Eitzim Ba'alma, they're similar to La'achla. Just like it says, Lochem La'achla, for you La'achla. What does La'achla mean? Simultaneously, that what? That the hana and the beer takes place. A lulav is made for a broom, and the hana, and so you can use the lulav as well. So it's not a problem whatsoever. Next year, okay, but this year is not. Guy just came over to me, asked me, so what are we gonna do this year? I said, no problem. This year's not a problem. Mendy's no problem this year.
No problem next year.
But my man's didn't Shemitah and the lollipop. You have a problem then.
No problem. I took money for it.
Okay.
I changed it.
You changed it. Anyway, says the Mishnah. Okay, so we began the hakdama to this parak. Filakachtem, right? This was the hakdama to the parak, and then now we're gonna see it inside. Filakachtem lochem b'yam rishayin. This is parak of Gimel and Vayikra pasuk Mem. Filakachtem lochem b'yam rishayin pri etzada. Kapes Tamarim, and Afetz Oris Vari Nachal, which we all know to be the Dalaminim, who samachtem Lefnei Hashem Lekechem Shivas Yamim, and you should be samech Lefnei Hashem Lekechem 7 days. So it's kind of contradictory. You said you should take on the first day, then it says you should be samech them 7 days. It's 1 day or 7 days. So why do we speak out? 1 day is only in the Medina. Midoraisa Lekachtem Rishon is only in the Medina. Usamachnu l'fnei Hashem in the Beis Hamikdash is a mitzvah for 7 days, right? Yoni, here, Yoni, 7 days. A mitzvah 7 days. Again, Yom Rishon is outside the Beis Hamikdash, and the Medina one is 7 days. Now, there's a machloikis what Medina is. But we'll see Rashi. There's a very nice Torah on this. Okay, let's see. For Rishona initially, Hayalulav Nitel b'Mikdash. I mean, the Beis Hamikdash was standing. The lulav was taken b'Mikdash Shiva for 7 days. That's the end of the pasuk. Uve Medina Yom Echad. Medina 1 day. Mishachar Beis Hamikdash Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai she'elulav nitel b'Medina Shiva zeichel hamikdash. We do 7 days as a zeichel hamikdash that it should not be forgotten. Ushehayoyim hanaf kulayasa. Now this is a din. This is totally a Pesach din. That the Yom Hanaf, the day that you bring the korban omer on Tes Zayin Nisan, that whole day is Asatit Chadash. That whole day is Asatit Chadash. When the Beis Hamikdash was standing, right, you would be able to, you only eat it after they brought the omer, the winter wheat. It was Chadash. In order to eat it in the Medina, you had to go ahead and bring the barley korban omer. Once you did that, it now became Yashan, and you will be able to go ahead and eat it. If there was no Beis Hamikdash, Heir Pneus Mizrach, just as the day itself, the Etzem Hayom Hazeh would be enough. Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai was Geyser. Etzem Hayom Hazeh is not going to work because you're going to forget that next year you may make a mistake. Okay, we'll get into this in a second. Okay, let's see Rashi over here. It says Rashi in the Mishnah. But Migdash Shiva, Kididar Shinon, B'Taris Kahanim, Misamachtem Hashem Lekechem Shivas Yamim, which is what we spoke out. For loy big Gvulin Zayin Yamim, but not in the Gvulin Zayin. Only Fnei Hashem is 7 days, but not in the Gvulim 7 days. But in the Medina, says Rashi, that means the Yerushalayim, Sha'afhu Ki Gvulin. Yerushalayim, guys, is like the Gvulin. Yerushalayim is like the Gvulin, yeah? Says the Rambam, the Perish Mishnayos, that no, that Yerushalayim has the din of what of the Mikdash. Yerushalayim has the din of the Mikdash. Good? There's the Machlokes. Says the Orel Chaner, Bisman Azeh, therefore, in Yerushalayim, the Chayra, you should take it for 7 days. No, but Midaraisa 7 days, Baruch. Midaraisa, not as a Zecher. We do it as Zecher, but there would be a din of in Yerushalayim, like the Shittas of Rambam, that Yerushalayim has a din of what Mikdash, so there's no Zecher. It's no Zecher, it's Mamish. So you do a din of Deraisa, like the Shittas of Rambam. Or there's a Pshat that perhaps not. There's like different dargas. There's the Migdash and the Beis HaMikdash. There's Torah on that also, Ken Zayin. But like I said, like the Shittas Lara Chaner, there would be what? There would be enough Gemina. Okay.
What about the rest of Israel?
That's a Seichel Mikdash. 7 days is Seichel. And we'll see enough Gemina. Only Yerushalayim itself, like the Shittas of Rambam. Like Rashi, there's no difference. Rashi says Yerushalayim is the same as Tiferia. It doesn't make a difference. Okay. So now, Minolon de Avidan Zeichel Mikdash. Now we know there's places you make Zeichel Mikdash, guys, right? Zeichel Mikdash we make by Morar. Bisman is a Morar. It's only on the current Pesach, right? We have a Zeichel Mikdash there. By Morar make Zeichel Mikdash. Yeah, but that's you leave the thing open in the house, right? You leave the thing open in the house. Now, where do you know it that you make a Zeichel in Mikdash? It says in Rabbi Yochanan Damakra, Ki ale arucha lach umimakasayich erpoich. This is speaking about Yerushalayim. Ki ale arucha lach, I'll bring up arucha, a cure for you. Umimakasayich erpoich, and from your wounds I will cure you. Noam Hashem. Ki nidachu karlacha. They call you nidacha. They call you strained. Tzion he Dairish. He seeks tzion the ein law, and it's not there. Yerushalayim is not there. Dairish ein law mechad by drisha. When it says you're seeking Yerushalayim, but ein law, you can't go ahead and find it. You seek Yerushalayim, but what? But you can't go ahead and find it. So there's a very nice piece that I have over here. Is this it? Yeah. Says, I'm just going to read it to you guys. Why did you put the Zecher? Why did they put the Zeichel and Mikdash by Lulav? There are other places also. We never bring the pasuk. We only bring it over here. But Talmud Zanira Mishum that Dalid Minim Royim Sim Dalid Kitas Yisrael. The Dalid Minim, they allude to 4 groups of Jews: Torah Maisim Toivim, Torah Beli Maisim Toivim, Maisim Toivim Beli Torah, Nashim Peshutim, and regular people Kedisa Medrash. V'anu Pesurim Nidachim B'Kolpinas Olam. We're spread all over the world. V'Lulav Bol Ratzos, and the Lulav comes to be a kapara Kiisa B'Gemara, as the Gemara says. You go ahead and shake it. We go ahead and we shake it in the 4, meaning all different spaces to bring all the Jews back. To bring them all. That's why we make as more the lulav nisham mitzvahs, because it symbolizes the gullus more than anything, the churban more than anything, to meratza the dalad minim, the dalad kitais, that we should bring them back. The chsiv ki ala aruchalach. Ki nidcha kara tzion. Is there ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu shenavi l'ratzos l'vakesh ve'nedoim l'sham mitzvos. The lekabi gav the chashash b'lei toisev. It's not bal toisev. So it says the shem mitzvim ba'alacha, a beautiful vart, a nice that the idea of the lulav is to shake it and bring the 4 kitas back together. How is this miramis to the lulav? So there's a fellow in Yerushalayim. His name is Mordechai Kornfeld. He is the first person to have a site. He used the internet. He has a thing called the Daf Yomi Advanced Forum. Is Talmud Movik of Rav Gustman. He's a Shas. He knows Shas well. He's something special. So listen to this beautiful remes. I forgot who he brought it for shame, but take a look. Look at the word, guys. How's this pasuk meramis to the Dalad Minim? Ki ale esrig haravos lulav hadatzim. Is that geschmack? Right? Can't make this stuff up, right? Is that geschmack? Yeah, Esrig, Aravais, Lulav, and Hadassim. Everyone's going to remember this. I know that. It's very geschmack. So therefore, what? It's a remez, guys. You got it. It's a remez to the mitzvah of that zeicha. It's a zeicha for the migdash for those things. Okay, very geschmack. Back in the Gemara. Okay, now Yom Anaf Kuliyasa, the day that Anaf is Kuliyasa. Again, fellas, here's the key. Let's go through it. The 16th day of Nisan, they would bring the carbon oimer. That would matter the winter wheat that we called chadash. Now it's yashan. You'll be able to eat it. Good. Now, it was only permitted after you brought the carbon oimer. Well, let's say there was no Beis Hamikdash, then the day itself permits it. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan made a gezerah that day is asa. That day is asa. Why didn't he make such a gezerah? Why was he geyser that day is asa? So let's see. My timer. What's the reason that day is asa? The Beis Hamikdash will be rebuilt. For Yomru, and they'll say the following: Ishtakid last year, Milo Yachalnu Beher Mizrach. Didn't we eat what when the sun came up? Because last year there was no Beis Hamikdash, right? Hashtanami Nechel. They're going to eat without what bringing the carbon. The Inu Lo Yada, they don't know. The Ishtagid last year, they're not lamdanim. They won't realize that what, since there was no Beis Hamikdash, it was the day itself, it was the coming of the sun that mattered the Chadash. Hashta the Beis Hamikdash, oime matter. Good. So therefore, in order to avoid this problem of when the Beis Hamikdash is rebuilt, right? To avoid it, that they should wait for the oimer, the whole day is asa. That was the Gzeira of Yochanan and Zakkai. That even though midaraisa, you should be able to go ahead. What? Good. Now, the Ibane Emas. When exactly is the Beis Hamikdash rebuilt? Ilema the Ibna B'Shitzar. If you're going to tell me it's going to be built on the 16th, right? So meaning the 16th day came already, and it was rebuilt. So how do you hit the Hey Mizrach? You had the heta. So what are you worried about? Ella the Ibna B'Chamisar. Let's say it was built the 15th or before the 15th. Why did he have to aser the whole day? He only had to aser until chatzos. Why? That a Mishnah in Masechta Menachos, those who live far from Yerushalayim, they can be assured from the middle of the day and on, you can eat it. The chadash, by the Bezdin of Kahanim will not be lazy. So in other words, Mimanav Shach. If the Beis Hamikdash was rebuilt on that day, why is he worried about it? It's mutter b'data. It's Mizrach, right? At the time, there was no Migdash, right? So the day mattered it. And if it was rebuilt before, why was it necessary to go ahead and aser the whole day, only aser until Chatzos? Because Zechar, the carbon oil, is going to be brought by Chatzos. That's the kasha. It says, the Ibna Belila Inami Samach L'Shkis Achama. Let's say it's built on the hour of the 16th. Good? Now, we didn't learn the Menachos yet, but guys, the carbon oimer is a pain to do. It's a real pain. They have to cut it and dry it and parch it. They have to put it through 13 sifters. It's a real long thing. So they won't have enough time if it's rebuilt on the night of the 16th, or the night itself. We won't have enough time to go ahead and bring the oimer. That's what he's worried about. In other words, you want to know why he asked it? Because he won't bring the oimer that day. Why? He didn't have enough time to go ahead and go and manufacture it, to go through all the process. That's what Rashi brings. Okay? So let's see. Now, it's a great question over here. When exactly, who's building this? What day is it being built on? On Chalamoid, on Yontif, when's it being built? Says the Gemara now. Inami. Go to the last Rashi on the page, Inami. Inami, 4 lines up. The Ibn B'Chamisa, it's being rebuilt on the 15th. Samich L'Shkis Achama. It's the same thing, 15, 16 of the night. V'ikasha. The Balayla Eina Nivna. It can't be built at night. The Kaimlam B'Shuas. The Imbinya Beis Hamikdash Balayla. You don't do it at night. The Chsiv U'Bayayim Hakim. Good. So it can't be on the 16th at night. Why? Because you can't build the Beis Hamikdash at night. V'loy b'chamisa, you can't build it in the 15th. Why? Shu Yantif. So what are you going to say? They didn't build it. What? Shkiyas achama. So you're going to tell me, Manusha, Shkiyas is what? Son of the Shkiyas. So it's going to it's either the suffix 15, 16. Manusha, you got a problem. If it's the 16th, it's nighttime, right? If it's the 15th, it's Yantif. It's daytime. How do you build it on Yantif? It's not Teicha night. It's not Teicha Yantif. The Kaimlan B'Shuas, they ain't been Beis Hamikdash Teicha Yantif. So Rashi has a kasha. How can you say it's the 16th or 15th? And for the Gemara and for Rashi, Hani Mili, Binyan Habonai Bidei Adam. That's something that's built by people. Aval Migdash Asid, but the third base of Migdash, Shonim Mitzapin, that we are looking Bonoi Shumitzapin, Bonoi Mishuklhu. You go, it's going to be Bonoi, it's going to be built, and Meshukla free, Yavai Mishamayim, Shenemar, Migdash Hashem Konu Yadecha. So that's it's got. I'm sure there's a lot of rate on this Rashi. Okay, but that's it's interesting Rashi. Okay, so guys, so we have it right.
Quick question: How would you say a word to say the whole day? What word would you use for that if not uviyom?
What do you mean?
You want to say that you want to say a whole day, you get a 24-hour period. You can do something. What word would you use?
I'm not sure what's your question.
Because you said uviyom means only daytime. They couldn't do it. That was the question that you.
So look, you'll see the Gemara in Shavuos. You'll see the Gemara in Shavuos, right? Again, you're asking a side point. The Gemara in Shavuos has to be built during the day and not at night, right? It doesn't say 20. Yom does not certainly mean 24 hours.
Say what word?
Again, when we get to Shavuos, you'll see the kasha in Shavuos. You're asking a kasha on the Gemara in Shavuos. Maybe how does you know what it means that day? That's totally it's like Jeopardy. It's nothing to do with Asugi, right?
I'm asking a side point. What word would
I don't know. You're the Balkaira.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
That's my Yom Hazeh.
Okay.
Okay, now a next teretz, another teretz. Rav Nachman by Yitzchak Amar. Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai b'shitas Rabbi Yehuda Amru. Yochanan Zakkai said in the shita of Rabbi Yehuda. Now this is fascinating. Look at Rashi. B'shitas Rabbi Yehuda. Oisa shita shay Rabbi Yehuda shahayu mitalmidei talmidav darish achrav darish gam hu biyamav. Rabbi Yehuda was talmidei. Let's go through the yichus, guys. Who is Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's talmidim? Says Pirkei Avos is 5 talmidim, right? So let's go with Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenis, because who was Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenis' talmid is Rabbi Akiva. Who is Rabbi Akiva's talmid? Rabbi Yehuda. He was from the 5 in the Gemara in Yevamos that if they died, Rabbi Baba. So now, so l'chayra. So you have that. So in other words, Rashi is telling you, how can Rabbi Yochanan be saying the shitas of Rabbi Yehuda? So Rashi is telling you, show you mi talmidei talmidav. Who was a Talmud of his Talmud, Darish Achrav, Darish Kamhu. He also, in other words, it's not that Rabbi Yehuda, what Rabbi Yehuda said, Rabbi Yochanan also held like, which is very historical fact, which is going to come to play in a second. I'll show you a beautiful diak. So now, Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, B'shitas Rabbi Yehuda, Amru Darminon, Minat Torah Hu Asar. Minat Torah it's Asar, D'chsiv, Ad Etzem HaYoim Hazeh, Ad Itzuma Shel Yoim. Says Rashi, Kol Hayoim Koru Etzem Hayoim. Maybe you want to know, Kol Hayoim is Kori Etzem Hayoim. Good. Ukesava Ad V'Ad Bechlal. V'lei Dorish Ad V'lei Ad Bechlal Hatira Be'er Mizrach. In other words, he does not hold of that din of Vat of Heir Mizrach. Ad Etzem Hayom Hazeh means the Vat until the day. Ad V'Ad Bechlal the whole day. He does not hold the Heir Be'er Mizrach. Memela, the only thing that can matter the Chodesh is the Omer. Nothing else. Nothing else. So now, if that's pshat, the Mishnah makes no sense. That he made a takana, that the yoim hanas, the tezayin is asa. It's not muta. What did he do? Right? What did he do? What kind of takana? Takana is mashma. With the rice, it's okay. Takana, the one it's not okay. Good. But it was saying right now, what are you talking about? Right. So what was he even talking? Okay. But now, but this is the teretz to the kasha. What's that kasha? The kasha exactly when was this Beis Hamikdash built and what was this takana? Says the Gemara here. Says what happened. Now umi sabala kavasei. How could you say Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rabbi Yehuda that the whole day is asa? From miflag poligala, he argues on Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Dit nan mishachara Beis Hamikdash hiskin Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai. Hanaf Kula. Yes, guys, what does that mean? The Raisa it's permitted, the Rabbanan it's a problem. Good. Now, Amalai Rabbi Yehuda, there's your problem, right? Amalai Rabbi Yehuda means Rabbi Yehuda said to Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai. Guys, he never saw Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai. So Baruch Hashem, I'm learning my son Yehonasan, and I asked him this kasha, and he said the Rashash says that look at the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. And I did. Gemara brings down, it does say Amar, it says Amar. Amar Rabbi Yehuda takes out the word loy, right? It's such a, that's why the Talmid of, that's why it all came into play. The loy is like, doesn't make any sense, right? He couldn't be speaking to him. He wasn't around. So if you look at the Gemara Rosh Hashanah Daf Lamed Amid Beis, guys, at the top, you'll see it just says Amar Rabbi Yehuda. It doesn't say loy. I hope he's crazy. It's crazy. A lunatic. Anyway, it says, so Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Ba'alaymina Toirahu Asa, Tichsiv at Etzem HaYom Hazeh, Adi Tzuma Shel Yoim. That's what Rabbi Yehuda said. So, and he said Mitakana, and for the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda, Huda Kotoy. Rabbi Yehuda made a mistake. Who Sava Midrabanan Ka'amar? He thought Rabbi Yochanan Mizak was making Takana Rabbanan, V'loihi, Midaraisa Ka'amar. He was saying the Raisa like Rabbi Yehuda. In other words, he agreed that the whole day is Asr. What's Lashon Takana? For his skin, Kamar, my hiskin is Dorish for his skin. He made a drasha for his skin. Guys, Beis Hamikdash is around. Yes? Guys, look at me. Beis Hamikdash is around. It's Tesai and Nisan. When do you eat the Omer? From Chatzos on. You got no problem. It's going to be brought. The whole time the Beis Hamikdash stood, it's going to be brought, right? Mishachara Beis Hamikdash. Here's Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai. What takana did he make? He came onto the pasuk and said, you know what? Ad etzem hayom hazeh, ad itzuma shel yoim, that what? There is no heter anymore. Rabbi Yehuda thought that what? There's a heter, that Rabbi Yochanan disagreed with Rabbi Yehuda, and he held that there's a heter of Heir Mizrach as soon as the what? As soon as the sun comes up. And he questioned that, and they said, no, Rabbi Yochanan agreed with you, Rabbi Yehuda. He beat you to the punch. He was generations before you. And he held there's no ad bechlal the whole day. You can't eat the whole day. If there's an Eimer. There's no so what do you mean he was metakein? Since they didn't know anything better because they were eating it because of the Eimer, he stood metakein, he dorishu metakein. He made the drasha of etzem hayom hazeh, ad itzuma sheyom, ad bechlal the whole day is aser, and metakein that you can't eat it. But they're rice and not the rabbanon. So he talked the holes in the sheet. What? What? So according to that, so what does it mean over here? What does it mean that the next? L'chayra. So l'chayra doesn't need that. L'chayra doesn't need that. I don't know. Okay, so what does Rashi say? V'hiskin lefi shahayu regilim lechal chadash mechatzos. As we just stated, they were accustomed to eating chadash mechatzos. Ulahalon keshahaya bayis kayim ad achshav chutzuk l'takin. Therefore, you had to go ahead and be metakin it. So according to this, so what? Next year they're going to say that what we ate it. So last year we ate it. Why we ate it? Because the oimen was brought, and they're not going to So l'chari that whole Torah is not this whole Torah does not apply according to Rav Nachman by Yitzchak. According to that, you can't say that the whole thing applies. Okay, says the Mishnah. Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag, Shechal Liyos b'Shabbos. Yom Tov Rishon of Chag that falls on Shabbos. Kol ha'am ha'olichin es leveim lebeis hakneses. All the people they would bring erev Shabbos their lulavim to shul, right? And lemachros the next day mashkimim, and they would get up uboyin kolecha v'echad, and they would come umakresh shaloi. V'noitleim they take him. They shamru chachamim. So you can't go ahead and be yotze with the lulav. You have to have your own lulav. You can't be yotze with your friend's lulav. A shul is not permitted. All the other days, because again, the lachem is only going on Yom Rishon and not the other days. We had Toisa said about Gezula. We said Gezula taka mitzvah b'avera. The whole mishalachem is what is for. What? There's not Beis Hamikdash, Beis Knesses. L'chari, this is speaking big vulin. This is speaking after the takana, right? This is speaking after the takana.
Saying that the friend doesn't know that somebody used his lulav.
No one's losing. You're not allowed to.
Using your own.
You're using your own hash. You're using your own. Makesh shelo. Everyone does use their own. Okay. Rabbi Yossi Yomer is separate. Then a Shabbos tigadin. Yom Tov Rishon Shchalios b'Shabbos. And a person accidentally forgets and he carries his lulav rishus harabim, potter, be potter from being a carbon chatas. Hoitzah is a din daraisa, it's a din karis. Anytime you have a din karis, b'shoigeg, you bring a carbon chatas, you'll be part from the chatas, make sure hoitzah b'rishus mitzvah. She says, since he was hoisik b'rishus mitzvah, and was b'simcha mahar to go ahead and do it in the mitzvah, and his machshav was on the mitzvah, that Rabbi Yossi says, tar b'dvar mitzvah, and you make it your part from karis. That's his chiddush. Okay, now, how do you know immediately? How do you know that a person cannot be yaitz of the lulav of his friend?
Why can't you fix it?
Where are you allowed to carry?
He's saying over here now you can carry.
It doesn't say you're allowed to carry. It says potter. Potter avalasa. Not mutter. Potter avalasa. Potter means from a carbon. You machal Shabbos. You potter from a carbon. Minani mili. How do you know that a person that yaitz lulav shal chavei, right? The Tan Rabbanan. Well, lekachtem shetei lekicha biyad kolecha diachad. It says lekachtem. Each person, one person can be mitzvah other people. Each person has to take their own. Lachem. Here's the limit we need. Mishal lachem. This will go ahead and be mighty shol v'gazol again. Taisa says in Daf Lamed Amud Aleph, gazul is lav dafka. Of course, it's patal mitzvah b'avera. Mikanam chachamim ein adam yotzi dechavasa beyond the rishon shel chag below shel chavera. Because you need mishal lachem, you need lachem. Elam kein nasnu matano. When Ma'isa Rabbi Gamliel, there was some incident with Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Yoshua, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Akiva, Shayibayim Besvina. So when Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Akiva spent a lot of time in the boat, Right. I think they probably went to Rome often to go ahead and intercede for the Jews. They probably did often. You've seen them on the boat. We had them on the boat like with the sukkah. We had them in the boat in the Masechta Eruvin. Remember with the eyeglass, he had a piece, a reed that can see 2,000 and he knew that he came into Gvul that he'd be able to tell. Okay. They didn't have a lulav el Rabbi Gamliel. He only had one lulav, Bulvat. Shalachu be'elav zuz that he bought for elav zuz, a lot of money. Not Rabbi Gamliel v'yatzabai. He used it. V'nasnu Rabbi Yeshua b'matana. He gave it to Yeshua ben Chanya matana. Not Rabbi Yeshua v'yatzabai. V'nasnu Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah b'matana. Not Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah v'yatzabai. V'nasnu matana Rabbi Kiva. Not Rabbi Kiva v'yatzabai v'tzil Rabbi Gamliel. He brought it back. So now lamalei lameim lahachzir. Why do you say he gave it back to him? Milsava garucha kamash malon. That even though the Rabbi Gamliel expected this back in the first place, now, did he give it to one person or did he give it to all of them? If you look at Rashi says, "Oh, Kamash Malan, the Gamliel Menashe Yechzru Loi Nasnu Lahem." It says Nasnu Lahem. He gave it to all of them. In other words, it seemed he gave it to all of them. In other words, it's not his to get back anymore. If you would learn the traditional answer, he gave it to Matan to Yeshua. Who does it belong to now? Rabbi Yeshua. He gave it to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. In other words, he doesn't belong to him anymore. But no, he gave it to all of them, and it says Lashon Lahem. Kihadam Marava Halach Esrig Zeh. Take this Esrig Al Menashe Tachziruhu Li. Al Menashe that you give it back to me. Not Lubi Yatzaboy. If he takes it as Yatzavit, Ichziruhu Yatza. Only in other words, you have to fulfill the condition. If you return it, then you yaitza. If not, not. Why you have to go ahead and tell us that he bought a fel of suz? What does that have to do with the Maisa? Look how dear mitzvahs are. The Shumitzim Malacha points out that you're not allowed to spend too much. We say hidden mitzvah shlish b'mitzvah, guys. But if you're going to buy something and it's going to cause the price to go up, skyrocket, you shouldn't buy it. So he must have said that year there was a dearth. Must have been a lot, not a dearth. There must have been a lot of esrogim, or else buying it for so much money would have caused about catastrophic inflation of the price. My father, when he would daven with the lulav. He would hold on to the lulav and daven. The lulav was so precious that he would daven. Person should not hold a tefillin in his hands with sefer Torah b'cheikoi, or sefer Torah in his chest. Be a spalo. You shouldn't urinate. You shouldn't sleep with them. Not a keva, which you might go ahead shem yafiach. You might, right? What was might fall, right? Yeah. This is not speaking where you. That's not speaking where you're wearing them. This is speaking where you're holding on to them. So therefore, you might drop them in both cases. A knife, which is dangerous to sleep with, kara, with food in it, is going to fall. Kika is going to be on the fall. Moist, it'll scatter all over the place. You shouldn't. So the question is, you see, you're not supposed to go ahead and hold stuff in your hands. So how could he hold the lulav in his hands? And if you want to hasan laf mitzvah, inu b'tarid b'hu, hachem mitzvah inu v'lay tarid b'hu. Over there, it's not a mitzvah. By tefillin wasn't a mitzvah. By food, by sakin, Hashenkin. Over here, it's and they wouldn't think about it. They would drop it. Over here, it's a mitzvah. Told the lulus lokach them, so he's going to hold on to it, and we're not worried. Tanya Elizabeth said the goymer. Kachayim in Hagen Shalan Say Yerushalayim. Other mitzvah in Beisoy, v'lulav b'yadai. A person would come out. He would have his lulav in his hand. Halach Beis HaKnesses, v'lulav b'yadai. Kaira Kriya Shema u'spalo v'lulav b'yadai. Kaira b'Torah v'noisei as kapav. If you'd have to get an aliyah in the Torah, guys, they used to read in those days. They would read. So you go up to the Torah, you open up the Torah, close the Torah, right? So they need both hands. I was thinking even without reading, it's a mitzvah to hold on to the Eitz HaChaim with both hands. It's a minig. So you have to even Mizman Hazeh, right? But I say as kapav or v'yakoyin, there are kahanim who do duchen. Those kahanim who do duchen would put down the lulav. The kahanim that don't duchen, I guess not. He's not listening. Menicha gabi, right? Menicha gabi karka, you put on the karka. Hoylech levaka choylum lenachem avelim lulav v'yadai. You go ahead and be mevaka choyla nichem avelim. How do you have nichem avelim on yontif, right? Let's speak that a person died on Sukkot, that there's no chiv avelis, only after Sukkot. So therefore,
Maybe
right, shame of shura going. The ayri misha meis meisay al Sukkot. In other words, I don't know. Nicholas Beis Medrash Mishagel Love Biyad Benoy. Once he goes into the base medrash, he's shrimping into the base medrash. You send it home. Biyad Benoy, Biyad Avdai, Biyad Shluchai. My Kamashmalon. The Kama Hoyas reason in mitzvahs. To go ahead and show how dear it was, what how dear the mitzvahs was that they kept it so well.